Today, we're going over the proper lubricant and fluid that you should use for Mercury Marine engines, both outboard and stern drive applications, or Mercruiser engines, which are boat engines for marine applications. So I've had many different types of Mercury Marine engines over the years, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, and this is Quicksilver Marine Lubricant power trim and steering fluid. So if you need additional fluid for your trim pump, this is the recommended fluid for Mercury Marine applications, both stern drive and outboard applications. And there is no Mercury Marine brand trim fluid. This is it. Quicksilver is actually a division of Mercury Marine. You can see it right here. Quicksilver, product of Mercury Marine, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and that is the same location as Mercury Marine engines and Mercury Marine or Mercruiser engines that are both stern drives and outboard. So I've used this primarily on stern drives. Just over the years, you're going to need to add trim fluid and or power steering fluid depending on what kind of boat you have and what size it is. I've used it primarily for the trim pumps on Mercruiser and Mercury Marine 4-cylinders, 6-cylinders, and 8-cylinders over the years, and haven't had any issues with it so far. One thing you always want to check with this is when you are putting it in, or if you are losing fluid for whatever reason, make sure that you don't have any leaks. Typical places that you're going to find leaks for the trim system are going to be on your trim cylinders on the stern drive. You can also find them on the hoses. Sometimes the hoses will just go bad, especially if they're exposed to sun, salt water, corrosion, and or electrolysis from shore power within the marina. That is a very common issue that will cause Mercury Marine products, the trim cylinders, to either leak and or the connection hoses to leak or just fail eventually. It's a replaceable part over time, both the trim cylinders as well as the hoses. You just have to be aware of that. So if you're losing fluid for whatever reason, that is the first place I would check. And then I would also check the fittings at your trim pump. That's another spot that sometimes the fittings will just go bad because of vibration, high pressure, whatever it is. So check that as well. And then you also want to make sure that you're not getting any water in there for whatever reason. Just condensation, you can get water in there. If you've got a system where there's a very small leak, what can happen is it will pull the water into the system and into the trim pump as well while you're using it. So you want to make sure that you don't have that. And what happens when you get water in this fluid is that it does change color. But this is the recommended lubricant and fluid for Mercury Marine trim pump systems. So if you are looking for what you need for your Mercury Marine or Mercruiser engine, this is what you would want to go with. And it is, as you can see, recommended for both outboard and stern drive applications. Primarily, I've used it on stern drives, and there's hundreds of different, or there's not actually hundreds of different, but there's just actually a couple different systems. But primarily, most of the stuff on Mercruiser and Mercury Marine engines, especially stern drives, is very similar. So you've got Alpha 1 drives, Bravo, Bravo 2, Bravo 3 drives. And this is going to work for all those because the trim pump and trim system for Alpha, Bravo is very similar. And then it's also going to work for the trim pumps that are on outboard engines, as well as if you needed to use it for power steering fluid. So on the V8s, had power steering with Bravo drives, so they needed that topped off every once in a while. And then on the 4-cylinder, that one doesn't have any kind of power steering on it. However, if you had one that did have power steering, you could absolutely use this. So hope you enjoyed this video on what type of trim fluid to use for Mercury Marine or Mercruiser Marine engine products. And this is what I've gone with for many years, and this is what is recommended by Mercury Marine, as you can see here on the back. So hope you enjoy. We'll put a link down there in the description below, and go ahead and click on that if you want to support us. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.